at my organization about middle-class jobs. You know, I've seen, if you look at the employment statistics, that in the last 10 years, we've got about 250,000 new jobs in New York City just in home health aides and restaurant jobs. There's about 50,000 net gain in jobs in retail over the last 10 years. There's lots of other low-wage jobs that have been growing in the city, and we've really struggled to create middle-class jobs. And I think we need to be focusing like a laser on how do we create more good-paying jobs, and how do we get more New Yorkers into the jobs that we know that are growing, that pay good wages. And technology happens to be the sector that is growing fast, has good wages, and the problem is that we haven't gotten enough New Yorkers into those positions. And
there are some of the reports that you have done, libraries, and then work that is possible to do on small business, because there are some rays of sunshine there. Are there other things? Innovation is what cities are doing. Maya mentioned that, because the federal government is not being helpful. But are there some innovative aspects that you have discovered in some of the research you've done that cities could be doing more of? Certainly the E-rate, which is what the libraries and the schools get, to be a center of activity for free Wi-Fi would be an example. But there must be other ones that you can think of. And also, sometimes the public-private partnership does work. Trying to figure out how government can be more efficient in New York City. And as terrific as they are, we got 80 city agencies, we got 300,000 employees, and we as city employees are usually older, to be honest with you, than the private sector. So I was just wondering, you know, I don't want to be just about technology, but in terms of funding and revenue and keeping up, is this something that urban America is capable of?
Gotham, the cities are the only hope right now in the country in terms of the ability to mobilize and put forth an agenda of social change that is based in equity and fairness. That unfortunately at the state and at the federal level, it's much worse. And the reality is that all the progressive movement in America, not only in America, but in the advanced capitalist world, in France and Spain, all these countries, is coming at the city level. Cities.
First of all, I do want to start off that there's a lot to be happy about, you know, and I think sometimes there's so many things that need to be addressed in this city. The unemployment rate in this borough is about half of what it was 10 years ago. And this morning I went on the Labor Department website to look at the actual number of unemployed residents in this borough, and you can't find a single month going back to 1990 where there's fewer people unemployed in Manhattan than there are today. When you look at the city's, I did not. And, you know, but unemployment rate is down in every borough considerably. The number of people that are poor or near poor is down by over 100,000 over the last 3 years, according to the mayor's office. I'm just saying there have been improvements in part because we've had an economy that's working. We've had some smart policies. Now we've got to make sure that more people are benefiting from this, that more people can afford the city.
It was because I think part of the challenge of a city of 8.6 million people and with the richness of our diversity is we should not make make the mistake of thinking aggregate numbers describe conditions. And that's the only reason I was asking the question, because we have because it's true. You know, we have, so I think part of what we have to do as a city it's all about infrastructure. I mean, I think every problem that we have been talking about is about how do we think more smartly about the right infrastructure investments, and in the absence of the federal, and I think part of what we've done right is some of those investments, right? And then thinking about it though from the perspective of where do we need to make those infrastructure investments in order to ensure that those of us or those communities that have gotten the least opportunity actually start to get the fair opportunity. And that requires a set of analyses. You know, one of the things that I think
city values the importance of the nonprofits. I think we are constantly underfunded. I know that for the Asian American community, we are the fastest growing population, almost 16%. But if you look at, you know, we do some data, not as extensive as Jonathan, but we do pull some data. And we did an analysis of the funds that come to the Asian American Social Services Committee. And while we're almost 16% of the population, we get 1.4% of the social services contracts, which means that, you know, the folks who are helping to, you know, support the most vulnerable New Yorkers are really stretched thin. So I think we need to think about that. But I think the thing that, you know, I would like to have our leaders remember is the importance of nonprofit in creating community engagement.